Hello and welcome to another Office Hours. Capsule, that's right, Capsule. This is a small section of my Office Hours live stream that I do on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and youtube.com/TheastroPublive, where we talk about Star Citizen lore, news, and more. It's just kind of hang out and talk Star Citizen. So come join us live. Would love to have you here. And we're going to be talking about the monthly report for January 2024 today. So if you've been enjoying any of these monthly report videos or any of the videos I've done on the channel, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and of course, hit that bell icon to be notified when it's released. Without any further ado, let's get to the monthly report for January 2024. AI features. AI Features began the year working on a key AI-driven initiative for Alpha 3.23. This involved a variety of improvements and new behaviors that required frequent discussions between various disciplines. I do wonder if that's the social AI stuff that they talked about for Squadron 42, because that was very heavy features, and they've been adding a lot of stuff in 3.22 for AI-driven stuff. There's a lot of like shopkeepers talk and the FPS AI work. So AI tech started 2024 picking up where they left off last year. For example, they added the ability for multiple NPCs to use ladders simultaneously when moving through the same location, which completes the feature. The transit system received upgrades like the used transit logic, smoother and more robust. Transit system received upgrades to make the used transit logic smoother and more robust when handling fails, retries, and fallbacks. For NPCs using elevators, the flow has improved to create a more efficient sequence. For example, characters won't be seen going back and forth anymore and will instead board the elevator directly, eliminating unnecessary waiting or interim positions. I still think that's a mistake because characters break their limbs all the time, get hurt, and majorly messed up when they go into elevators with other players. So I can imagine like NPCs bullying players in elevators. The development of generating navigation mesh on planets continued particularly close to the poles to support outpost locations with NPCs. To achieve this, the new tile name system for planets was implemented, which translates position locations to terrain patch IDs for more accurate navigation around poles. CIG's been worried about NPCs kind of wandering off from where they started around outposts and such, and then ending up derping in the middle of nowhere. So they haven't added a lot of NPCs on the surface outside of outposts or like specific locations because they want to fix the navigation stuff. AI tech also continued to support the designers with additional functionalities and quality of life for Apollo. This included the ability to delete functions directly from the multi-graph view, enhanced clicking behavior when zoomed out far enough, improved menu options and functionality to define shops in platforms. For space behaviors, the latest fixes and changes to the new pilot combat behavior were included in the new Arena Commander mode added in Alpha 3.22. The team are currently developing new data loading procedure for subsumption data. This will allow stricter requirements on the data so they can immediately identify issues. This functionality will be enabled as an additional step when submitting for validation. Alongside these highlights, AI tech continued to support release builds and addressed numerous smaller improvements and bug fixes. Awesome. Art characters. In January, the character art team completed the racing flight suits and its helmet, and continued working on the headhunter outfits. The character concept art team began exploring legendary armors and worked on handoff sheets. Okay. Pretty simple, but I do like the idea of the racing flight suits are coming back. So, art ships. This is the big one. Last month, the RSI Zeus continued to progress through the gray box stage, with some areas moving slightly beyond. Slightly beyond gray box, I guess Lot 0. The team are currently focused on finishing various areas, including the entrance ladder and engineering, while polishing previous areas to make them match contemporary RSI style. With this speed, they probably are going to be done by the time Invictus comes out. I wouldn't be surprised if the Zeus launches either in 3.23 or 3.24. That's a pretty fast pace, because this is already in Greybox in January, and they just got to move to LOD 0, which is the step before final art. I can see that. They're not that big of ships, so. A previously announced vehicle completed its LOD 0 phase, with the team beginning to work on paints through January. They previously announced it's a G12. It's got to be the G12. It's got to be the G12. Some areas have already made it through final content, and we hope to be completely hands-off in a couple of weeks before moving on to additional promised content work. Chip art team. The RSI Polaris is currently in Greybox, with modular pieces done for its lifts, habs, corridors, and hangar. That's pretty big. I am on team Polaris by IAE or Invictus. I think we could definitely see the Polaris in the game by Invictus, but we'll see. An unannounced ship progressed well, receiving updated lighting paths, including POMs to meet current visual standard, 3 different lighting states, standardized headlights, geo updates, and glows on the thrusters. It also received a material refactor for other updates. Did you see that? 2 variants continued development. One moved through Greybox and began the LOD 0 phase. The other completed LOD 0 and is awaiting Indicate review. Several related bugs were also fixed. I wonder if that's the 2 variants for the unannounced ship, because we've seen that from the past before. Finally, for ship art, gold standard work on the Aegis Retaliator began. This is the second mention of a gold standard. They had completely abandoned it. Now it seems like they're kind of readapting it. So it'll be interesting to see the Retaliator. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Retaliator at Invictus, these 3 ships that they're talking about in Invictus, 3 different versions, the Polaris and the Zeus, maybe in 3.23, with the G12 maybe in 3.23 as well, if this is back to the G12. So lots of ship updates. Art weapons. January saw the weapons art team redesigning and changing the dimensions of weapon optics. Improvements were also made to the FPS weapon wear map, while various animations were fixed for ship weapons. Okay. Community. The community team kicked off the new year by announcing the winners of the Luminalia Greeting Contest. They received hundreds of submissions from passionate backers who created wonderful pieces of art. Community and other teams participated in the Daymar Rally, organized by Atmo Esports. CIG's bike and buggy teams performed alongside other players, competing in the dirtiest race in the verse. Oh, CIG themselves was competing in the game. That's cool. That's always good to see CIG, like the developers actually get involved in it. That's awesome. The event was a blast, and participating in the Daymar Rally was a great way to enjoy Star Citizen with everyone, connect with the community, and compete in the greatest marathon in Stanton. Community team. They then published the Arena Commander schedule as a comm link for better visibility. This will be updated every month so that everyone can can discover the new game modes coming in Arena Commander. The team also spent a considerable amount of time planning CitizenCon 2954. More information to come very soon. Maybe we're getting an announcement in like February. Finally, members of the community and development teams visited Spain last week for Bar Citizen Barcelona. We were humbled to see so many of you at the Space Cowboy, where we had lots of heartwarming chats and shared some of our special loot only available at Bar Citizens that CIG staff can attend. I have something. It's one of the rare items that I'm actually going to give away on the Astro Historian. It's one of the like, I think it's the the Banu cube. I still have one of them. So, the team is also happy to announce that Bar Citizen World Tour continues in 2024. Just like before, we want to hear from you about where you should visit. Austin, CIG, Austin Bar Citizen. Feel free to contact the community team on Spectrum, and they'll add it to the list of locations to consider. Read more about Bar Citizen World Tour in 2024 here. Economy. Last month, the economy team completed a balance pass on the UEC prices for the FPS weapons. They're currently looking into the impact of structural salvage in in-game play, in-game economy. We've done a lot about. I still haven't gotten to the point in the Star Citizen Live. They also talked a little bit about that there at the end. Core gameplay. So this is a big one. Ooh. To amplify efforts, the character, vehicle, gameplay, and arena commander sections are no longer separate, as the gameplay features team was reorganized towards the end of the last year, including teams from Squadron 42, the PU, and arena commander, to operate as one unified gameplay, core gameplay pillar. Some people were asking, what does that mean? It just means that they have a gameplay pillar team, where they've put all these people together to test the game loops, the minute-to-minute gameplay, would be my guess. As such, their progress will be reported under the core gameplay pillar moving forward. Last month, the core gameplay teams continued porting some of the Squadron 42 features seen at CitizenCon into the PU, which include making many features multiplayer compatible. Porting efforts and the remaining code also work on recoil and improvements and dynamic crosshairs were completed and refined to give players a best experience possible. EVA was also ported over, and it now has more intuitive strafing behavior and multiplayer support. For player interaction improvements, the team fixed various bugs. They're currently making sure that the interaction prompt, default actions, and control hints all work together to make it clear what will happen when players interact with something. Master modes testing and refinement is going on too, with several successful playtests and rounds of positive feedback. The resource network and life support feature were further developed, the devs scoping out the remaining work needed for feature release and clearing the important tech debt. They also continued to work on jump point gameplay, including the procedurally generated tunnels and flow of entering the jump points. That's pretty good. That's probably the biggest thing right there. Adding the resource network and life support features and jump point at the same time, those are probably the most important features for the game going forward, because those will change how the game plays to the point of allowing things like crew gameplay, but also like systems. So progress was also made on several tech initiatives in January. For example, support continued for server meshing and server crash recovery. Notably, there were improvements to the usable code for robustness and reliability. For Maelstrom, the dynamic destruction system, the current workload involves evaluating existing setups and generating workflows to fit the new pipeline. The team have already started retrofitting existing systems, including improvements to allow ship landing gear to facilitate the new pipeline, but improve the implementation based on the feedback. Skipped. Improvements to allow ship landing gear to detach with Maelstrom debris, and simplifying design markup for configuring the item control within vehicles. These changes not only facilitate the new pipeline, but improve on implementation based on feedback. That's cool. Kind of sectioning off more and more pieces. The team also continued last year's work on the transit system, preparing it for an upcoming refactor and completing work to ensure the current version is suitable for server meshing and crash recovery. This involved implementing a safe recovery system for players who experience a server crash while inside a moving transit. Engineering also continued refactoring the docking and landing systems, including a rewrite to the automatic dock/undock feature. For the former Arena Commander feature team, January's focus was on transitioning to the persistent universe and becoming familiar with the workflow and systems. While the team's focus is now on the PU, they'll continue to maintain, improve, and provide regular content updates for Arena Commander, albeit with reduced velocity. That being said, the team finished work on 3 special events, formed a strike team to close out the Resource Network experimental mode. That's kind of sad. CIG spent all this time and effort kind of building Arena Commander back to being what it could be, and then they're just kind of abandoning it. That sucks. I'm gonna be honest. That's a feels bad, y'all. That's a feels bad. Just because there were so many options for it. I made the bold decision of saying that we were gonna get Theaters of War by the end of the year. Finally, it is like I think that dream is dead. As of this, that dream is dead. January also saw 2 successful go-no-goes for Arena Commander. Grav Race, where players race grav-led vehicles across 5 racetracks, and major update to Master Modes, which includes a limited set of new AI behaviors tailor-made for Master Modes. Atmospheric maps were also added across all Master Modes game modes. That's good. After last month's successful test, the team began implementing streaming bubbles across all Arena Commander locations for improved performance and easier map setup. Additionally, they continue to refactor several UI systems to building blocks, improving the overall UI. Finally, the core gameplay team worked on a wide range of features for the upcoming cargo update. This includes new cargo freight elevators, instance hangars, personal hangar persistence, commodity trading changes and associated commodity kiosk updates, cargo grid improvements, hover trolley support, hauling mission support, and more. You see how a lot of those things are the same. I kind of mentioned this a little bit in the stream, but a lot of what we're seeing in 3.23 is like 10 features. It looks like it's 20 features, but it's actually more like 10 to 15. A lot of those features that are listed are just the same feature. In this case, things like the cargo freight system, the instance hangars, personal hangars, commodity trading, kiosks, cargo grid improvements, hover trolley support, hauling mission support. All of these are the same thing. If one of those goes, then none of them should be, or will probably make it in. So this is and as to see this, that CIG is like kind of lumping it all together. They're all working on the same stuff. So this is a significant endeavor that involves working closely with teams across CIG, including UI, design, art, animation, narrative, and core tech, to deliver the full vision. So far, we're in the right in the thick of building out our core functionality and establishing pipelines, with early prototyping proving out functionality and providing input for iteration. There's still much work to come, but progress has been solid to date. Or gameplay pillar. Awesome. Alongside the environment team, in-game branding continued integrating branding elements into new distribution centers. The development of Pyro's Outpost continued too, with an intention on finalizing signage to enhance visibility and communication. We're going to have Pyro look better in terms of signage than Stanton. Live Tools. The Live Tools team developed and implemented several new features to assist the player support teams. They're currently ensuring that the Network Operations Center becomes easier to use and meets the evolving needs of the gameplay of the different users. In addition, the team is further improving other internal development tools and providing the necessary help and maintenance. Locations EU. EU Sandbox 1 continued to develop the upcoming distribution centers, while Sandbox 2 worked on location markup for the new star map and high-tech and colonial cargo elevators. Progress was made towards Pyro's initial release. This involved finalizing the placement of outposts and integrating content, such as the new Defend mission. Alongside this, the landing zone team continued to work on the cargo feature, including freight and ship elevators for hangars. Ooh, a new Defend feature. We're going to have a go to an outpost and defend it as long as you can. That's kind of a cool idea. Locations, Montreal. Montreal Locations team began the year closing out mandates, starting new ones, and planning for 2024. For example, they closed out the final bug fixing for additional derelict settlements and kicked off the white box for building interiors. They also continued their work on distribution centers Mission Design. Mission Design team continued to fix Siege of Orison for the live release, tackling many long-standing issues, including using new evidence. Work also continued on Blockade Runner, including finishing iteration cycles and fixing bugs. Numerous quality of life fixes were also made, and planning was done for future releases. You'll see a lot of planning was done for future releases, because that's what January is for. The narrative team came back from the holiday break to multiple large-scale initiatives that will add more story and character content into the game. They also met with various design teams to generate text for some of the systematic missions being introduced in upcoming patches. Systemic missions. The team then looked back to the existing lore and science of other planets and moons to make adjustments based on the gameplay needs. This back and forth is crucial to aligning established lore to maximize fun gameplay loops, like resource gathering, as well as endeavors undertaken by the narrative team. On the narrative design front, the team continued examining existing behaviors and looking for ways to fix bugs and pops while building a more comprehensive system based on what was learned during Squadron 42's development. The first initiative is building a general civilian line to populate larger spaces. The team is also looking at updating the tourist behavior to accommodate larger scale events like Invictus and IAE. Another volley of lore posts to this hit the website in January 2. Whitley's Guide on the MISC's unique Reliant lineup, the portfolio on Pyrotechnic Amalgamated, which dives into the history of the famed mining company, and finally a Galactopedia article exploring humanity's perilous connection with AI development, which I'm going to have to do an updated AI video on. R&D. In January, further progress was made on temporal renderer mode for atmosphere and clouds. Among the other things, ghosting around cloud fringes was reduced. Also, a code interface was implemented to allow gas clouds to hook into the temporal reconstruction process, as R&D would like to explore the possibility of sharing this render pass. This will allow gas clouds to benefit from associated performance improvements as well. Furthermore, the support in capturing and extracting auxiliary callbacks from memory corruptions, specifically double deletes and right after free events, mentioned in last month's report, was implemented on both the engine and tool sides, with its integration into Sentry currently being investigated by Turbulent. UI. In January, the building blocks framework was worked on for the freight elevator UI. This was accomplished by the ongoing creation of art mockup to ensure a visibly cohesive experience. A user experience (UX) pass also went underway for the freight elevator and resource network mandates. Additionally, wireframes were crafted for the commodity kiosk UX, while attention was given to enhancing the overall user experience within the item shop. Pretty good, but it could definitely be better, that's for sure. VFX. Last month, the VFX team focused on fixing log spam. Tasty log spam that had built up over time. This involved solving minor data errors that didn't break the game but can be problematic to devs working in the editor if too many accumulate. For example, a missing texture referenced by a particle effect. They also continued to support several locations, including the latest version of Seas of Orison and a few Pyro outposts. Web platform. This is a new one. Last month, the new launcher teams was created to enhance the user experience of the RSI launcher. The first major focus is the development of Launcher 2.0, which will bring the fresh UI design and up-to-date technology to support Star Citizen community, and also to integrate Squadron 42. The RSI launcher is going to end up being the place where you have Star Citizen, Squadron 42, and maybe even Arena Commander. But we'll see how that works. The Avocado community was given the first version of the new launcher to assess the sign-in, download, verify, launch, and game library location features. Testing will continue up until its release to the wider community. Alongside this, the content experience team worked on a simple image component to provide an efficient solution for image management. With features like lazy loading, customizable formatting, and centralized control, it streamlines performance, scalability, and flexibility. Its easy integration and prevention of content shifting make it an essential tool for maintaining a unified image handling approach. All right. So, what did we get this month? Not much. The web platform with a new launchers coming out, some new VFX updates, UI updates, mostly around cargo updates. R&D was working on some atmospheric cloud stuff. Narrative is apparently doing some big work, specifically around systemic missions, and kind of trying to look at what they learned from Squadron 42. Mission design was fixing Siege of Orison, Blockade Runner, and then quality of life fixes. Montreal is derelict settlements and white box for they're finishing off. They kicked off white box for building interiors, which is pretty good. That means they're starting with the building interior stuff, which is nice. And distribution centers. EU worked on Pyro and distribution centers, branding, distribution centers, and Pyro. Huge stuff, new core gameplay features with things like Arena Commander updates, commodity kiosk and freight stuff, Maelstrom, server meshing, crash recovery, resource network. All of it was being worked on. The economy team's doing FPS and something else, and structural salvage, looking at that. Beauty team's doing a bunch of support for a bunch of different events. The big thing is probably with ships, with the RSI Polaris and Greybox. The Zeus almost done. Some announced ship that's an outlawed, and then an unannounced ship with possibly 2 variants out there, and the Retaliator being worked on as for Gold Standard. New character work for art, and then a lot of PC AI tech. A lot of it seems to be social stuff, movement, fixing some behavior, yeah, it's pretty much it. It's fairly light. I would say the biggest standouts are probably the ships, some of the social AI stuff, the fact that they've really are working on stuff in 3.23, things like cargo and lots of stuff like that. So light month, but critical. A lot of new information. We're seeing a lot of reorganizations, which we tend to see in January. So if you're freaking out about the core gameplay team or the web platform team just suddenly showing up, don't be. That's what CIG does in January. They kind of figure out what they need to do, and then they reorganize and kind of reconnect and get all those sorts of things together, and then they use the rest of the year to work on that stuff. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. And I do want to thank Factor, who sponsored this stream. Factor is a fantastic meal service for those who you just come home and you're tired, you don't have a lot of time to make food, you don't want to go out and order food, or you don't want to have it brought to your house because it's too expensive and it's not very good for you. Factor is a fantastic service. It gives you meals ready to go once a week, every week, as long as you've paid for it. You get these in sort of refrigerated containers. You take them out, you put them in your refrigerator, and all you got to do to cook them is pull them out and put them in the microwave for 2 to 3 minutes, and you're done. And you got yourself a nice quality meal, which is surprisingly good for what it looks like, because it's just kind of like a fridge meal. I've used it in the past, and it's great for if you don't have a lot of time. And right now they've given me a code to give you 50% off of your first box. 50% off. Last I checked, a box with 20 meals was $120, $130, which means it's between $60 and $70 for 20 meals. It's insane. If any of this sounds interesting to you, check it out. Make sure you hit that link in the description and in the top comment. Use my code to get 50% off your first box. Try it. I guarantee that you'll like it. Chat will agree with me generally as well. So thank you again for Factor for sponsoring the stream. And as always, I want to hear your thoughts on any of this in the comments below. What are you excited about? What are you concerned about? Let me know those things in the comments below. And as I always say, hope to see you someday in the black.